Today, I want to take a few minutes to respond to a post that was put on the channel wall under a video I did a few years ago about parenting adult children and how to make sure that you aren't codependently enabling them. So this young lady writes, Miss Deborah, my name is Assyria. I'm 28. I have two children, a 4-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old son who has a bleeding disorder. My mother posted this video on Facebook and I watched it to get a better understanding of my mom's perspective. I'm a full-time student and I live in a traditional housing program for women and children. I was on the verge of graduating this month but was unable to fulfill the state requirements to get my degree in education. I've never asked my mother for anything because the rest of my family has abused and used my mother, and I knew I made the mistake of having not one child but two by the father of my children. My mother offered at first for me to stay with her since my time at my housing program is ending during the time we were temporarily staying with her while during the quarantine, but then recanted the decision out of fear of enabling me. I'm not wanting to stay with her rent free, nor do I want to stay with her longer than I have to. I just want to graduate. I told her if we need to create a monthly contract, then I would agree to that. I believe if there are strict boundaries in place, you can help those who are willing and showing that they are trying to help themselves. To be honest, it hurts to feel like I can't depend on my family when I have no other option. By the grace of God, the father of my children reluctantly finally took the kids, and my children's grandmother on their father's side said that they would keep the kids as long as possible so I can figure things out since I have to receive confirmation if my program will grant me more grace to continue to stay until the fall to complete the remainder of my degree requirements. As far as the interactions between my mother and I go, I have never intentionally disrespected my mother, and I won't pretend I am perfect. I am still learning and growing, and I feel like my mother has more she could be pouring into my life. During the time my kids and I stayed with my mother during the quarantine, I did my best to not make everything about me and the kids and try to do as much as she felt comfortable with allowing me to do. And knowing that she has anxiety with having dealt with immature and just overall shitty and thievish family members. I feel like because I made a mistake of having kids that it will forever be held over my head. I'm trying to better myself for my kids and myself, and I completely agree with your video. There is a thin line between helping someone and enabling them, and you must have strict boundaries to prevent yourself from not only enabling and hurting them, but also gradually destroying yourself in the process. At this point, my only option is to sleep in my car if I'm unable to stay on this program because my financial plan didn't go according to plan. I had been living off my student loan since I was a student teaching, and I had the kids full time because their father would make excuses for not getting them consistently during his visitation. When I had both my kids, I never went to my mom and asked for help. My intentions were to marry the man that I had my kids with to the point where I was in so much denial and no one in my family knew how much verbal and emotional abuse I was suffering through because I knew I couldn't seek refuge with them. I found a transitional housing program called Buckner Family Pathways, and that was my ticket from living with the father, after having my first child and miscarrying our second. Unfortunately, I was still dealing with trying to emotionally detach myself from him, and yes, I ended up pregnant a third time while in the program. I realized after the third pregnancy that nothing was going to change and was given grace to stay. I started doing whatever it took to get my life together. I'm at the finish line to finish my BS in interdisciplinary studies, math 4 to 8, and ESL with a Spanish minor, and I already have a job/paid internship lined up upon graduation, which will also allow me to continue my education and receive my master's degree in education. I just need help temporarily, and I'm willing to abide by whatever rules necessary just to survive until I can make it to my goal and become self sufficient. It sucks when one bad apple ruins it for everyone. one child steals or lies or maybe ends up having multiple kids, then the parent can't trust anyone. And even when that child tries to make amends, it seems like they will never be able to live down a decision that they made. I understand that I could have used protection or aborted my children, but it is but if my biological mother had done that, I would have never been born and been led to pursue a degree in which I can influence and inspire children of all races and ethnicities to make better decisions and be able to help train and guide them to be better citizens in the future. I am a firm believer that everything happens for a reason, and I would never expect someone else to raise my children for me. My kids are my legacy, and while I was staying with my mom during the quarantine, she helped me realize some things I could be doing, like creating a physical schedule for myself and the kids, being intentional about taking them to the park for exercise, and I helped her with organization and staying focused and completing one task fully before moving on to another. I honestly believe if I would be blessed with the opportunity to stay with my mother, it would benefit both of us with the right structure and boundaries. I loved watching your video because if my kids were older, yes, I would do the same thing and be intentional on not enabling them. But at the same time, when you have a young adult by myself that's working hard, doing the best they can, and they come to you with a game plan, I feel like that is when I could help within specific boundaries, i.e., having a job, paying rent, having a monthly contract, setting expectations and rules, and respecting each other. Meaning, if you are staying in someone else's house, you will have to contribute in any way and as much as possible. I understand more now thanks to your video. I just want to let you know that there are those of us young adults that are out here and we make mistakes and we don't expect our parents to fix our problems. And unfortunately, we are afraid to ask for help because of the strict mindset. Sorry, I didn't get to finish and it wouldn't let me edit, so she came back with, but because of the strict mindset you described in your video, young adults like myself who are doing everything they can to better themselves and haven't asked for help, we're struggling when our family sits watching while claiming in the name of them not wanting to enable us that they can't or won't help. The African American community is one extreme of the enabling community, while I have heard of other races that have set their families up for success while providing strict boundaries to prevent enabling. Why can't there be a compromise? Why do I have to struggle more after I've done everything I could take responsibility for the decisions I have made? I just wanted to give a different perspective on your video and thank you for your wisdom and insight. Okay, so I read this and I thought there were a couple of points that need reiterating. Let me flip back to where this starts. Here it is. Okay. Um, so you're 28 and you have two very young children. 2-year old probably still in diapers and a 4-year old. Now, I don't know what the lineup is as far as, where you are in the birth order of your siblings or how old your mother was when she started having you. So she could be anywhere, she could be anywhere between 10 years younger than me to 5 years older than me. I don't know where she has, but I'm going to tell you how I would feel. You ain't bringing those little noisy kids to my house. That's just it. I don't feel like hearing no screaming 2-year old. I don't want kids running in my house. I don't want nobody breaking nothing. I don't feel like hearing crying. I don't feel like hearing screaming. I don't want to smell pissy, shitty diapers. I don't want to be bothered. You know why? Because I've done all that already. I've done that and I did that with you and whatever siblings you have. I'm done. Okay, I'm done. And the thing about grandparents is, a lot of people misinterpret that responsibility, that role in a child's life. I don't even want to say responsibility, that role. It's one of a voluntary contribution. Grandparents don't have to do shit because they've done their share already with you. So anything a grandparent does for their grandchildren and anything that they do for you as an adult, it is just because they want to. And just like they want to, they could not want to. And you can't try to hold it against them like you're doing in this video. It's, and I mean, I appreciate the fact that you are considerate of the fact this is certainly an issue for your mother, that the rest of the family abused and used her. I'm sure that bothers her. I'm sure she's done with that. She doesn't want anything like that to happen again. And but then you turn around and say, well, you made the mistake of not having one child but two by this guy that you knew was a dusty bum. Now, see, my grandfather always said, if you one time is a mistake, twice is a habit, and you went for a third round because you were given a blessing. You were given an escape route by having a miscarriage. That was your angelic, spiritual, whatever escape hatch right there. But you didn't take it, girlfriend. You went and got yourself pregnant by the same fool again. So what you essentially did was, I mean, it's great that you have all this intelligence, you have all this drive and all of this stuff. Why didn't you have that before you started having babies with a bum? So now, because you put this albatross around your neck and you have kids with a fool, you want to try to have other people step in and give their time, their energy, their peace of mind to help you do something that you should have done before you got pregnant, especially before you got pregnant the second and third time. So I'm just saying, and I know this is going to be hard for you to hear, and I'm trying to be really nice, unlike how I would usually be, because the tone of your letter was extremely respectful. You were trying, and so I'm trying to give you that same energy back. But I do want you to understand though, because as I go on in this video, I'm gonna have to jam you up a little bit. There's some sense of entitlement here and some resentment that you really don't have the right to have about your mother's time in your mother's life. You just don't get to do that. And that's what I'm going to be calling you on. So then we move on, to the second slide, and you start saying, well, I don't want to stay with her rent free, and I don't want to stay there longer than I have to. I just want to graduate. Okay, let's look at that. Look at the problem that you encountered this time, what kept you from graduating. How do we know that that won't happen again? So you plan to be at your mother's house for, I don't know, say 6 months, but it ends up being a year and a half. Things that are outside your control, but still, it's still a problem for her. And that she's still giving up her space, her time, her peace of mind. And you think paying rent is going to be, some kind of contribution, consolation, whatever I'm trying to think, contribution to the issue. But when you have little kids, I mean, the carpet gets worn out, they put their hands on the walls. The water bill goes up. The light bill goes up. The heat bill goes up. There are other things to consider, and then she won't be getting the peace of mind that she has living in her house by herself right now. She's giving a lot up to have you come in and to help you. Now, some parents are willing to do that, and some are not. I cannot fault her for not wanting to do that at this stage of her life. Okay. And you say it hurts to feel like you can't depend on your family when you have no other option. The option that you had was, guess what? I know you don't want to hear it, not to have kids. The option that you had was to go to court and tell the court, I can't take care of these children. They need to go to their father. And they would have sent them over here. So all his dipping and dodging and talking about he don't have time to pick his kids up and stuff. Oh boy, yes you do. You gonna have your kids, clown, and it don't matter if you want them or not. This is what it is. Either you gonna have them or they're gonna go to foster care. Those are your two choices. And 99% of the men, especially he's got family around, they're gonna be on his case and he's gonna take his children like he should have in the first place. Every baby got two parents. They didn't get here by magic. So, the other option you had was just to do what you finally ended up doing was giving them to him. That's something that, should have happened prior to this, okay? Even if you had to go over his head to his mother and tell her that you need him her help to get him. There were other ways that you could do that. Now that you don't have the children, you also have other options. Why can't you get a live-in part-time job? That people always want somebody to kind of help clean them up, especially clean up their house and stuff, especially seniors. They need somebody to shop for them, cook for them, clean for them. And you could do that in exchange for room and board. There are other options besides, and talk to social services. They have like group living facilities just for women. There are all kinds of ways that you can get around this and make it without burdening your mother or getting resentment built up about her not doing what you want her to do. That's not what she's there for. And then on the bottom part of that slide, this is what really drove me crazy. You say you feel like your mother has more she could be pouring into your life. Why? Why do you feel that way? What is it that makes you think your mother has anything to give to you at 28 years of age? You're on the downstroke to 30. You're fully an adult and you some two people's mamas. And then you looking at your mother to still give to you? That is some really interesting mindset that you really need to get rid of immediately. We should not be looking for our parents to pour nothing into us at any age past the time we move out the house, which is like, 18, 19. That's you actually earlier than that, really, because most kids are going off to college, 17 years old. And any pouring into you as far as morals and values and teaching you and educating you and handing the reins over to you of running your life, that's happened already. So they laid the foundation. Any decision that you make which contradict the foundation which your parents raised you, well, that's all on you. If they didn't teach you to go out and have a bunch of kids, and this is not just for you, this is for anybody listening, and then you create problems for yourself because that's what you chose to do. You're an adult. You made that decision. As a person who makes a decision as an adult, you and only you are responsible for handling every repercussion of that decision that you made. That's what called being a grown up is. So you can't turn around and look at your parents now that you've grown talking about, well, you need to pour something into me. No, I don't. I don't need to do a goddamn thing. Now, see, that's what I would have said. But like I said, I'm trying to be a little bit softer with you because you were, very respectful in your presentation. Okay, so let's move on to slide number 3. You said, you knew that she had some anxiety, having dealt with these generally shitty and thievish family members. That sounds really scary for her. I mean, you can't trust people and they being treating you bad and stealing from you too. I'm not saying that would be you, but I'm just saying, I could see how that would make her have some kind of severe trauma, but around people being up in her house. Okay, and then it's like with you there, how does she know who you're gonna let in the house? You're gonna have friends over or whatever. The baby daddy gonna come by, visit the kids, drop the kids off. I mean, there's other things to consider here. And then if she lets you in, then who else is gonna use that as leverage? Well, you let her do it, but you won't let me do it. And then she got to deal with all of that drama too. Do you see where I'm going with this? It's like it's best for your mother at whatever mature age she is to just shut her door and don't let nobody in. Because it says whatever she does is going to cause her problems down the road. Okay, and you feel like, you made a mistake of having kids that's going to be held forever over your head. Unfortunately, that's true. Like I said a few minutes ago, when we are adults and we make choices that are adult choices, we and only we are responsible for each and every repercussion from those decisions that we made. We did what the fuck we wanted to do, right? You didn't get your mother's buy-in to do all of those things that you chose to do. So the only person who's supposed to suffer because you made those choices is you. So why you feel like somebody's is being held over your head is a very interesting perspective, and I want you to change that. You need to grow up, ma'am. This is a situation where you made a series of poor decisions and now you are, dealing with them. And that's, you just got to take that L like a G and just, keep coming up like you're doing. But don't be trying to build up resentment about your mother not wanting to participate in that. That's her choice. She's already done all the sacrificing she wants to do for you and all these other people. She's done. Okay, the lady is tired. She tired of all y'all. And so she just wants to be by herself and enjoy the rest of her life in peace. That's what she wants to do. And she deserves to do that. So you say, you want to be all dramatic, talking about you going to sleep in your car and all that stuff. Girl, you better get your G on and start talking some stuff to somebody so you can get a place to stay. Not with your mother. Okay, you got all them deals you talking about, contracts and all that stuff. Work that out with somebody else. That's a good idea, but you're not going to do it with her. You're going to do it somewhere else. So let's move on to the next slide. So you said you had intention to marry that guy that you had your children with. Okay, well, don't people normally get married first? Why would you have a baby and then have a second baby and you still ain't married? What were you thinking? You see what I mean? Once is a mistake, twice is a habit. So you knew you wasn't married the first time you got pregnant. Why would you go and repeat that same mistake? So it's like, you were doing some very interesting like leaps in logic here and creating problems for yourself. And now you want your mother to help you dig your way out from under them. And now I'm saying I fully agree with her. I back up and throw my hands up too. It's not like you starving on the street. The kids are with somebody. You an adult. Make it work. Okay. And the program lets you stay. I mean, you got some real, breaks here. You got a good major. You can, with an ESL with Spanish, that's a wonderful thing to have. You can also do some translating work and stuff like that, as long as you can pass the test. And, having a good little start there and all that. But, maybe you should be working. You should consider working before you just continue with education. There's some things you need to get straight, like find a place to live, get your kids, get some daycare rolling, get a vehicle, all this kind of stuff. Well, you already got a car, but whatever. Whatever you need to do to establish yourself, then go back to school. I'm thinking you need to take a break from school and work on some other stuff right about now. Once you get that first degree and you start working at your new job, you should be all right. And then on what is this? Slide number 5. You feel like you never be able to live down a decision you made. Well, you're living it down. But what you want to do is have people do what you want them to do, and they're resisting, and so you feeling all this resentment like they won't help you because you made these mistakes. No. What it is they just don't want to be bothered. But you are your kids, and they have every right to make that choice. So you can't be mad at her for that. This is an older lady. I mean, she needs some rest. And I don't know what her situation is like. Is she on a fixed income? Is she still working? I mean, I don't know. You didn't say all those details. I don't know. But I mean, those are things that in some instances have to be considered. And, so do you say you could have, used protection? Yeah. Or you could have aborted the pregnancies? Absolutely. And then you turn around and try to justify about what your mother did. That don't have what your mother chose don't have nothing to do with you. That was some amazing BS right there. Okay, trying to justify what you did and the problems you created for yourself, but based on what your mother chose to do. If anything, you should have learned from her mistake, not repeat it. So I'm a jam. Justice, I'm gonna jam you up on that. That ain't gonna fly here. You don't get to use that excuse. You saw what your mother had to go through, and you see that didn't really work out too well. Why would you go and do the same dumb thing? And then try to use that as justification for why you are in the shithole that you in right now. No, everything doesn't. You know what? People say that everything happens for a reason, but sometimes the reason is just that you made a stupid decision. That's the reason. So don't try to dramatize this and romanticize this stuff that's going on here with you. This is a problem that every bit of this problem is something that you created for yourself. It's not right for you to look for your mother to help you solve it. I mean, if she chose to do so out of the graciousness of her heart, man, you would be lucky, lucky, super lucky. But it's just a different time now. Parents have their own lives. They don't want to be bothered with the obligation and responsibility of their adult children's silly choices, and they have every right to do that. I know this is probably killing her because she seems like she's really trying hard to learn how to set boundaries, but she's doing a good job, and you need to respect that, and you need to leave her alone about it. This, all the stuff that you expressed here, um, and then, she's helping you do some things like organize your kids' lives and stuff like that. I mean, that's basic parenting 101. All little kids need to be on a schedule. How can you say that you just now learning that and you're almost 30 years old? Well, slide 6 is pretty self-explanatory. I highlighted the things that I thought were kind of important there. And then let's move on to the final one. You're stuck. This choice of words is real interesting. We are stuck struggling when our family sits watching while claiming in the name of them not wanting to enable us that they can't or won't help. That's exactly what it would be. See, this is the part that drives me crazy, and I had to teach my daughter this too. Okay, I teach you not to do something, even something as little when you're a little kid, and I say, don't touch that. It's hot. The fire is hot. It's gonna burn you. Okay, you know what hot is because she already knew what hot. Okay, then she gonna stick her finger in there anyway and get the fuck burned out of her. Okay, now I already told you. I warned you. I told you not to do it. You chose to do it anyway, so now your hands all fucked up. You are crying and in pain and stuff, and now you want me to do something about it? That's essentially what you're saying here. Because you want help. Well, nobody has to help you except the person who helped you make them damn babies. And that's who you should have gone to from day one. So you need to take your kids, not take visitation, take them. And then in closing here, you talk about the African American community is one of enabling. That is true. A lot of coddling goes on, especially with boys. That's why we have such a bunch of bitch made men walking around right now. But it's equally bad, I think, out of households with, females. And because they want to have all these babies and everybody's up there talking about, oh, God, to make a way. I'll take care of it for you and this and that. Nope. That's coddling too and codependent. But you've heard of other races that set their families up for success. Well, do they have are they suffering racism? Do they have the same economic and employment disparities that African Americans are under? Are they making 50 cents for every dollar like black women make? So you trying to compare apples and kumquats and getting, your lip poked out about not getting that kind of opportunity. Well, not every white person gets that either. But the ones that do tend to have a whole bunch of money. Like we talking like millions. So if they want to do that with their millions and set their kids up, well, they have every right to do that because they have that kind of money in the bank. Does your mama have millions? Does she even have half a million? Does she even have a quarter of a million? So you having that kind of expectation of your mother and getting like a resentful little attitude about it is some amazing shit to me. Your mama ain't wealthy. Okay, so what you looking at and trying to compare and talk about a compromise, there's no compromise when you broke. I mean, I don't know if she broke, but I mean, compared to somebody that's got millions, shit, we all broke. But you're gonna struggle because you did what you did, and this it's not finished yet. Your kids are very young. You're gonna be on this track till they're 18, or at least out of the house. So looking at your mother to try to absorb some of that responsibility is an inappropriate thing to do. It's totally inappropriate. That's between you and the kid's daddy to work that out. And he got some family members that want to step in and help him since he ain't done shit for the last 4 years. Well, that probably would be about right. So you could get a 4-year break, and that should give you enough time to get on your feet. And by then, the kids might decide they want to stay over there anyway, in which case you'd be off the hook. But, I do appreciate you sharing your perspective. I mean, it was interesting to read, but it doesn't change anything about what I said. And I think your mother sharing this video, was her way of trying to let you know how she feels and what's going through her mind and what's in her heart and how she wants you to succeed, but you're going to have to do it on your own, girlfriend. So you need to talk to some people at social services and figure out what you can do because they have different stuff for adults, just like they have for adult, mothers and children. They have programs just for adults. There's all kind of programs for women who are in transition. There's programs for women who are trying to go back to school. You have to put forth some effort and energy to find them. That's what you're going to have to do. They're out there. And, you know, just make it happen. But I suggest you, in the meantime, you keep your birth control game tight. Don't you be dipping and dodging with no more knuckleheads and turning up pregnant anymore. Okay, you should be finished with that by now. Until you were married and stuff and have yourself a nice husband, a nice home, and everything in place, then you don't have no more babies. Okay, you just be putting yourself further and further behind the 8 ball. That's two is plenty. Well, actually one was plenty, and now you got one that has, special problems. I I don't know. I'm trying really hard to, not ream you too much, but I just want you to really understand that the situation that you find yourself in is one of your own making. And no one on this planet is responsible for the outcome or getting through it in any way, shape, or form but you. Okay? And I hope this makes sense to you. Put your comments, everybody listening, put your comments under the video. I'll address them as soon as I can. Bye bye.